Passe's 2018 short film, Where Are the African Gods? And Alicia Etanoff and Zainab Johnson's 2017 dramedy web series, Avant both craft representations of black men and women in order to interrogate the way religious laws are used to control concepts of personhood. By using visuals and sounds of nature and images of black women as ethereal beings, these works aesthetically examine constructions of Christian churchdom, the notion of religious rights versus legal rights, religion as a set of rules and laws, and systems of adultification. Where Are the African Gods opens with a camera panning into an apartment complex showing three black men sitting down in streetwear. One looking straight into the camera, one looking off into the distance, and one glaring out the window. The use of the apartment complex establishes the film in an urban city. Similarly, in Avant the web series is set in the loft of a building complex. Avant focuses on the God-mandated therapy sessions of a black angel named Roz. Roz's costume is an avant-garde approach to portraying celestial beings as it challenges the traditional image of angels. She's adorned with rhinestones, black makeup, her hair features two crystal-like afro puffs and intricate braids as she dons a white fishnet dress and Doc Martens. Roz's existence as a black woman angel, especially one in a contemporary 21st century style, challenges representations of celestial beings and forces the viewer to interrogate the existence of black women in a religious context. Placing black women in a religious context evokes Abbey Lincoln's command in Where Are the African Gods to only worship people of your own likeness, and challenges notions of church Christendom that only ever position Euro-white people as ethereal beings. Etanoff and Johnson further interrogate this by placing Roz in the context of a therapist's office, signifying that even as an all-power celestial being, she is still susceptible to feelings of inadequacy and insecurity. She is also forced to examine and deal with the consequences of racialized categorization and ISOD, interlocking systems of domination, which is shown by the personification of these interlocking systems of domination.
Have you read Racism's autobiography?
No, I do not empower the enemy by acknowledging his presence.
Oh, you don't want to get to know him so that he can't surprise you?
I do know racism. Oh. Well, before he changed his name to racism, Egalitarian and I used to be friends. Before he abandoned me for the devil, and now he's dead to me.
By using metaphors and applying human attributes to racism, sexism, war on black women, and more, the filmmakers show how interlocking systems of domination exist on Earth and on the metaphysical plane. The use of Abbey Lincoln's poem offers an intimate look into how social constructions of heteronormativity and white Euro-supremacy have impacted representations of black masculinity. As a poem, it implies intricacy and nuance, especially when layered with sounds of wind and birds chirping. The intimacy of the poetry and the sounds and images of nature serve to show the vulnerability of black men through signifiers of peace, tranquility, and hope. This directly connects with the use of sounds of water, birds, choirs, and what appears to be wind instruments in Avant-Gardians. The sounds and pink-leaved trees work to evoke scenes of heavenly and divine spaces for the audience. Roz and Dr. Haniel are placed in this space, and they reference things related to life on Earth. There are trees and other plants indoors, so they're interrogating the binary of internal versus external and natural versus man-made. By doing this, Etanoff and Johnson effectively connect the metaphysical with the physical. The filmmakers also do this by including multiple popular culture references, such as McRibs from McDonald's, the phrase "you only live once," yellow, the HBO show Power, and their overall use of African American vernacular English. Again, the use of language is significant because it places the concept of angels into a modern 21st century context. It is particularly thought-provoking how Roz internalizes creepy Charlie's struggles and sees them as a reflection of herself, which is why she is in therapy. And Dr. Haniel tells Roz that, contrary to the responsibility she feels, in actuality, it's society's job to make creepy Charlie feel normal. This scene demonstrates the way in which Euro-white supremacy attempts to absolve itself by preaching individualism and shifting the blame of society's shortcomings onto that of individuals. Often what guardian angels are present, they after advice and disappear. But in this case, the viewer sees how, on multiple occasions, Roz develops a personal connection to her charges and the other humans. This attributes human emotions to Roz as an angel, but also shows a black woman angel burdening herself with the struggles of another person, and in this case, a black man. In the scene when Roz speaks about the loss of her former human, Ashley Anthony, the creator's use of angling, lighting, and music breaks the barrier between the viewer and the viewed. Roz and Dr. Haniel stand next to each other in an intimate moment as Roz talks about how Ashley Anthony committed suicide. The only light in this scene comes from the natural light from the window, and the music score and use of a choir present an ethereal and precious moment as Roz speaks about how she feels restricted by her contract with God. This scene introduces the concept of law into a religious setting and demonstrates how religion is just a set of rules and laws. Where Are the African Gods shifts through scenes of black men performing activities such as creating art, standing in front of a church, cutting hair and getting their hair cut, and interacting with their children. While in Avant-Gardians, Roz and Dr. Haniel have moments where they are dancing to hip-hop and electronic music, dance music. The incorporation of these light-hearted moments of black people just existing demonstrates how the subjects are given a level of freedom through their religious/spiritual context. This then enables them to have liberty outside of the interlocking systems of domination. These moments also evoke thoughts in the viewer about how black individuals are prevented from experiencing this level of freedom outside of a film context.
Brad?
Passe employs scenes of young black boys performing actions associated with youth, leisure, and innocence, paired with scenes of nature and upbeat jazz music to evoke a sense of purity, joy, and life. These scenes of young black boys playing on the swings and standing in a field of sunflowers presents the viewer with representations of black masculinity and interrogates the adultification of young black children, particularly black boys. Youth is established in white supremacist culture as a discursive field that bestows protection and innocence upon children. Black children are denied that youth, and as a result, young black males are incarcerated at a higher rate and served with harsher sentences that are typically reserved for adults. The mass incarceration of particularly black youth is linked to the creation of the 1974 Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention Act that created a large database of young people with criminal records and as a result funneled more children into the prison industrial complex. This act fostered higher rates of black incarceration rates by deliberately directing high-risk white children to programs unavailable to black children. The scenes of black children with their black fathers are especially powerful because it forces the reader to think about the ways in which mass incarceration harms the black family unit by tearing fathers away from their children and children away from their fathers. Likewise, in Avant-Gardians, Roz discusses an instance when Creepy Charlie, a young black boy, went to visit his own father in prison. The scene is particularly powerful because of the angle of the camera as it focuses on Roz as she speaks about her feelings towards mass incarceration of black men and boys. The way the tempo and composition of the music lines up with her monologue for moments when she sighs and when she pauses. In this instance, Dr. Haniel interjects and challenges Roz to consider the ways in which society is at fault for mass incarceration. However, Where Are the African Gods subverts the adultification of young black boys by capitalizing on the vulnerability and power of black men through scenes of leisure, sounds of joyful music, and luscious green pastures to craft representations of black masculinity. Especially with Abby Lincoln's poem playing throughout the short film and repeating the phrase, "Where are the African gods?" it connects the concept of a higher power to black men existing in a simple everyday setting. Abby Lincoln's poem is especially beneficial because Lincoln was a black woman that used her music and audience to advocate for civil rights and black lives. And in Avant-Gardians, when the frame shifts back and forth between Roz and Dr. Haniel, as Roz tells the tale of how Creepy Charlie conquered his bully, by positioning the camera so close to their faces, the filmmakers intimately capturing Roz's sense of triumph and emphasizing it even more by also showing Dr. Haniel's reaction to this triumph. In the end, Where Are the African Gods and Avant-Gardians work together to bring attention to the way religious laws are used to control concepts of personhood, through crafting representations of black masculinity and the black women as ethereal beings. They both utilize scenes and sounds of nature, camera angling, and images of black men and youth to do these things.